This is the Pubcast. I'm John Loomer, and today we're going to talk about gated content with Facebook lead ads. Let's go. All right, how you doing? I'm John. Welcome back to the Pubcast. So, back in May 2022, Facebook/Meta put out an announcement. There was a series of updates that they would be making to lead ads. And one of those updates was gated content. And honestly, at the time that they announced it, I wasn't really sure what to make of it and how it was going to work. They didn't provide a lot of details. Well, wouldn't you know it, September-ish something, I do have this now. And as far as I can tell, because now that I have a blog post on it, I've emailed about it, I don't think there are any issues where people are like, oh, I don't have this yet, John. I think it's been rolled out now. So between May and September, great. So let's talk about what gated content is, how to set it up, how you then manage leads, who this benefits the most, some potential negatives related to it, my thoughts. I mean, we got a whole bunch of stuff to cover. And I also have an experiment that I'm running right now with gated content. And we'll get to all of that today. Bottoms up. The normal lead ad, if you're not familiar with it, you offer, and this is just related to offering a file, a digital download, okay? So if you're running a lead ad, you can offer some PDF download in exchange for an email address, right? So lead ads keep the user on Facebook. The form opens there. They provide their contact info. You can have a CTA button that drives them then back to your website. But generally what happens is they then wait for that digital download to be emailed to them. So the potential problem with that is, well, it starts with deliverability, right? So they wanted this thing. They wanted it immediately. They could only get it by email, and we know the way email is these days. They may not get your email. It may go to spam. It may go to the other folder, especially Google, Gmail. And they may just give up, forget about it. You then lose that connection, right? Gated content, it works a little differently. So it's still a Facebook lead ad. The advertiser, though, when creating the form, uploads that file to Facebook. Then, when the lead completes the form, they can immediately download the file that they wanted. So there's no waiting around for it. So, and it could be a PDF or it could be an image file. And so it's usually an ebook or some other type of reference when building leads. All right, so that's how it works. There's a lot to discuss on this. We'll do that now. Cheers. All right, so how do we set up gated content? All right, so I'm going to assume that you've not, maybe you haven't set up Facebook lead ads before. So the campaign objective in Ads Manager needs to be leads, assuming you've got ODAX. If you don't, the old method was lead generation would need to be your campaign objective. Then within the ad set, for conversion location, you need to select instant forms. And you create your ad as you normally would. And you'll need to create a new form, right? And even creating that form, we don't need to go into details there. Most of it is going to stay the same as you normally would have set it up, all right? But the final step is the key here. There's a final step that's message for leads. And this is basically the screen that normally you would give them the thank you message. Hey, thanks for submitting your info. Check your email in a moment, and it's going to be sent to you. In the meantime, you can click this button, go to our website, and read such and such. That's normally the way that final screen would be used. But in that section, when you're setting it up, you can select a CTA button. Previously, the options were view website or call business. That's a whole other topic. We're not going to get there. The new option is view file, right? So now we want to select view file, and then you can then upload a PDF, JPEG, or PNG file, so image files or a PDF. They can't be more than 10 megabytes. And if they're an image file, they have to be at least 1080 pixels, I believe. So that way, when someone subscribes, when they get to the end of that form, it's going to say, hey, you've unlocked this this content, and the CTA button will say whatever you want to say. It can say download now. You can have instructions in there, and it'll automatically download to their phone or even desktop, because they can run there as well. So that's how you set this up. Cheers. All right, so now let's talk about managing your leads just really briefly, right? Because this is something that's mostly unique just to lead ads generally. So when the lead subscribes, they can be found in your Leads Center in Business Suite. Now, important, you should go there. You've also got a link you can click in Ads Manager in the Ads tab that will allow you to download all your leads. But that's related to the people who saw your ads paid. Your ad can be shared as well. So there might be some organic people who opted in. You'll want that full list, right? So those leads expire in 90 days. So you want to access them in your Lead Center in your Business Suite. You'll then need to download those leads before they expire, obviously. Now, the way I've always done it is I automatically sync my leads to my CRM. I use Keep, doesn't matter what you use. And we'll get to the benefits of this in a moment, but it kind of not eliminates, lessens the requirement that you really have to sync these things, right? Because someone subscribes to this thing, they don't want to wait a day for you to see if they subscribed, and then export your list to your CRM and all that kind of stuff, right? But now, with gated content, they can automatically get access to it. Great. So there's no requirement to automatically sync to your CRM, though you probably still may want to if you can. And if you did sync it, you'd use a third-party tool to do that. I use Zapier. Use whatever you want. All right. So that's just a quick tip on managing leads. Cheers. All right. So this is super simple, right? The way it works: lead subscribes to something. Don't have to leave Facebook. Click a button. Automatically get that file. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? No friction, right? So who does this benefit most? This isn't for everybody. Because first of all, yes, it has to be, there's some digital download you're offering. Because otherwise, if you're not, this doesn't apply. But in my mind, because I know we're going to talk about the potential negatives here. There's the long timers, the advanced advertisers, the people who are spending a decent amount of money are going to scoff at this and like, why would you do this? But I would say small businesses, low budgets, low technical expertise, these groups, this works for the best, right? It's super easy. You don't need to set up the automation to add leads to your CRM and then send an email to these leads because they automatically already got the thing, right? It's also cheap. So there's no need for that third-party tool that you got to pay for to sync to your CRM automatically. You can sync that manually later if you really wanted to. Truth is, you may not even need a CRM at all for the time being. Again, people are going to be like, what are you saying, John? That's blasphemy. Here's my point. An example. I have this baseball-related passion project that I've run for years, right? I don't want to spend a ton of money on this thing because I haven't monetized it. But I would also like to build my email list. Now, I'm not going to pay for a CRM right now, and maybe I won't be emailing anybody right now. But what I could do is build my list with some free document, some free digital download in the meantime. Collect these leads. They automatically get this thing from the lead ads. I then export these leads, keep it in the file. If one day I want to start spending some money, set up a CRM and add those leads, right? And then go from there. So those are some examples of who this works for the most. But honestly, and I'll get to my experiment here in a little bit, but I think there's a potential benefit for anyone who has a digital download to offer without really losing anything. Okay? But let's get to those potential negatives next.
Cheers.
All right, so I understand this takes a bit of a change of thinking, right? So I get it. Normally you want people to provide an email address, so then you can email that free thing to them. That's kind of like the test, because you want access to their inbox, right? You want to be sure that you can reach them later to cross-promote products, get them to buy something eventually. And, this is kind of like the way of preventing people from providing an invalid email address is like, look, if you want this thing so bad, the only way you're going to get it is providing a valid email address. Okay? So that said, even though they have to provide their email address with gated content, they could provide an invalid email address, right? Because they still get that file at the end. So you could argue that this may lower the quality of your leads. Now, that would require someone to know that the file will be available at the end of the form, and it won't be emailed to them. But I don't think most people are going to realize that. So, yeah, those people could provide false information. The people who are providing false information, though, were they going to be good leads anyway? So, honestly, I think it's always a potential issue that you can get people who provide a different email address that they're never going to access or something, right? Just to get that free thing, and they're not going to be a potential customer. So now, regardless, a high quality email list is very important, and this could potentially impact that. But we don't know. We really don't. I do think there's some benefits, some positives that outweigh those negatives, at least partially, and we'll get to that next.
Cheers.
So my thoughts. Yes, it absolutely could lower lead quality. But I also think that there's enormous upside potential here. So until we experiment with it, I don't want to bash this at all. So first, let's just assume for a moment, and I don't know the numbers. I should probably know these, but I don't. Normally, when you run lead ads, and really kind of any kind of ads to build your email list, let's assume that 40% of those leads, it could be 30, it could be 20, whatever, those people never get your email or never open your email. So this could be for a lot of reasons. It goes to spam, it goes to the other folder. They just, they don't recognize you in their inbox, whatever. We'll just say 40%. Now they can download your file immediately. So there's now potential for that 20 to 40%, whatever that is, to actually get that thing that they wouldn't have been getting before that they said that they wanted, to consume it, and potentially be inspired to take another action that would not have happened before because they would not have actually accessed that document. So that's the first thing. I think we should not ignore that potential right there. The second thing, this is a much easier and cost-effective option for the typical small businesses. We already talked about it, right? So they don't need to worry about automation and syncing with their CRM. If they even have one, because they don't really necessarily need one here. They can build a list, give potential leads this thing that may lead to business later. No extra costs, no software needed. So the main thing is this, once I put out my blog post on this, I got a comment from an old standby, Lawrence. Comments a lot on my blog. He's been around for a long time. He's an old timer like me. And I think he immediately had some negative thoughts about this. And I understand. I totally get it, right? We're all stuck in our ways, especially if we've been doing things the same way. Not really, because everything changes, but in terms of our overall goals, build an email list, right? Build in like the deliverability and like make sure people provide valid email addresses because the email list is so important. I get it. I can see why marketers would be against this in theory. But when you consider the fact that email deliverability is becoming a bigger and bigger issue because of the other folder and the spam folder and maybe people using email differently, and it's probably not going to get better anytime soon, this might actually help. It might help in the fact that, look, they weren't going to respond to your email anyway, right? They weren't going to get your email anyway. They now get access to this thing. We're talking about a certain population. I don't think we can ignore the fact that some of these people could end up buying something from you as a result. And I think that's really important. So in my mind, until I'm proven otherwise, right, look, I'm still open for being shown that, oh, this sucks, right? I think the positives outweigh the negatives, especially for the small business that's trying to save some money and maybe just wants to do this the easiest way possible. But I think this expands to really anyone who has a digital download. And I'm going to talk about my experiment with this, which doesn't have any results yet, next.
Glug, glug, glug.
All right, so you probably won't be surprised I've started a little experiment with this, and you probably also won't be surprised if you've been involved in any of my experiments in the past that it's kind of meta. It's kind of meta. So I've created a lead ad using gated content, and the document I'm offering in exchange for a lead is an infographic PDF that explains the steps of creating lead ads with gated content. So, yeah, I think it's kind of fun. So, once again, those who are my leads can immediately download the file. And the thing is, look, I do have the form leads synced to my CRM, and I use Zapier. And I also have an email that's sent to them within a few minutes with two different links, okay? So, again, it doesn't have to be to skip over the whole CRM thing. You could do it in concert. So one of those emails, there are two links within the email. One of the links within the email sends it to the blog post I wrote about gated content, how to set it up and all that, because there's additional detail in there that goes beyond that infographic. And the other sends them to my membership site because I automatically generated username and password for them once they subscribed. To view the infographic PDF. If maybe they didn't download it, maybe they forgot to, they could have skipped that step as well, right? Maybe they didn't see that button because that's not normal behavior that you would actually download it directly from the form. So you can get access within my website as well. So that's what I'm doing. Honestly, I think it's going to be pretty good. We'll see. I mean, my targeting audience, what I'm doing is just kind of, so it's people on my email list already, people who visit my website, people who follow my page, and then I'm also allowing the audience expansion, although it probably needs to be the custom audience expansion now that I think about it, which I don't have yet. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if we get good results. But I'm also curious about the quality of the leads that come from it too, and we'll dig into that as well.
Last call.
Right. So that's last call. Maybe you've seen my ad. I'd love to hear about it. And you can check it out. You can experiment with it. If you go to my Facebook page, because I also published that ad to my Facebook page. You might have to dig depending on when you listen to this. But go to facebook.com/JohnLoomerDigital, and you may see that published ad where you can get access to that PDF infographic. And then you can also kind of see how it works and how I did it, see the whole process. You can also read my blog post that I wrote with instructions on how to do this. And if you go to johnloomer.com/gated, right, gated. So that's all I got. Thanks so much for joining me again today. Man, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, especially if you made it this far. I assume that you really enjoy this and you're one of my people. So leave a good review if you again. If you thought this sucked, wow, you wasted a lot of time. But otherwise, until next time, do awesome things. I'm out.